have been kidnapped, I will pay ransom. And I will ask all of you on this platform to please contribute money to help me bring my children back. And I better say this, if I am ever kidnapped, be ready, all of you, be ready to put money down to rescue me. But this is a national and an international disgrace. I read what, can you imagine a captain of the Burkina Faso army who happens to be their president, the insult he meted out to Tinubu. He said, oh, my army fights. My army is not just fooling around with the peacekeeping operations and whatever it is. I have an army that fights, and that's a captain talking to the Nigerian commander-in-chief. I tell you, if it were me, then I would go to war against him, just to let him know that we have an army that can fight. I will go to war with him, and then he will know.
Yes. Let's widen this a little bit, sir, because there is a huge concern that I have. And this is around the narrative that's been used when describing the people who have been attacking the government in Haiti. They've used the words gangs. In Nigeria, the word kidnappers is what has been used the most. But in Haiti, they've used gangs. And the demand of the gangs was that the prime minister resigns. And the prime minister has indicated he will resign. What precedence is that setting, sir, for the gangs and other African countries where you have groups like this that are going against the government?
You know, I don't know how many hours you want to spend discussing Haiti. Unfortunately, those who are responsible for the disintegration of Haiti are the ones who are pretending to be problem solvers. There was a Father Aristide who was elected, freely, fairly elected. And for some reason, because he was a nationalist, the Americans and the French, overthrew him. And that's where the problem of Haiti started, or the modern problem, because really, if you want us to go back historically, the French never forgave Haiti for overthrowing the French slave traders and becoming the first Black nation to fight for its independence and become independent. The French never forgive them. And the Americans also never forgive them, because there are wars in the United States, what I will call a sugar cabal. And they felt that the independence of Haiti, that also was producing sugar, was a threat to their own no, to their own whatever it is, the money they were making from. So there had always been this coalition between the French and the Americans to make sure that Haiti was never stable. And there was an interview done. I can't remember the year now, probably 1975 or something like that. An interview done by the French ambassador who said we and the Americans carried out the overthrow of Father Aristide and sent him into exile. He first of all went into exile in the Central African Republic and then went into exile in South Africa before he returned home. He's probably dead now because I think he was 70 years old in 1975. Can you imagine? Now they are all pretending to be the problem solver in Haiti. How can you tell me that one brigade of the American troops cannot overrun those so-called, what do they call themselves, creating havoc in Haiti? I mean, I've never been a soldier, but I swear, from what I saw in Ecomog, a brigade of Nigerian troops, provided the Americans and the French would leave them alone, will clear the mess in Haiti. I swear to that. But they won't leave them alone because they don't want a stable Haiti. They don't want a stable Haiti.
Mm. Yeah. But to the points around the likely escalation in other in African countries, because I won't really say that, but in African countries who are seeing gangs who have come together and have now had their way, more or less. How should other countries be preparing themselves to mitigate such an action taking place? Some would even argue that if you look at Nigeria, that some of these gangs are starting to take over.
And they will be right. It's one of, I mean, haven't I started teaching in the University of Ibadan in 1970. And that's when I started interacting with the military, because they had, cantonments and divisions in Ibadan. And their officers, them were allowed to take courses in the University of Ibadan. Some of them became my students. And that's how I then got involved with the Nigerian Army. And then over the years, 1970, until, well, all the ones that I know have now retired, and some are dead, and some are, unfortunately, they are no longer active. These were some of the best soldiers you have ever met. I mean, after all, who put down the rebellion in Sierra Leone? Who put down the rebellion Liberia, who put down the rebellion, even in Gambia recently. I was in Gambia for their election as one of the observers, you know, and who put down the rebellion in Guinea-Bissau, when Obasanjo was in power. You've got a good damn military, provided you untie their hands. One of the things that pained me was when this coup happened in Niger. And instead of all of us rallying around to say, we don't want coups in West Africa, Keith and Cain syndrome then became what divided this country, divided our army. These are our people. These are our Keith and Cain. These are our brothers and so on. And therefore you cannot, for God's sake, you know, you turned the army then into a divided army. And when you turn an army into a divided army, you turn a country into a divided country. And now you could see the effect of it. They are challenging you, they are challenging your budget, that they are dictating to you. And believe me, these are not this whether they are now Boko Haram or ISIS or ISWA, they are not Boy Scouts. The United States knew what it went through before it managed to dislodge them from Syria and from, you know, those Mediterranean countries. And if you are going to dislodge these people, believe me, be ready to fight and forget all about our kids and kin, our brothers and sisters. Be ready to fight or surrender the country to them.
Let me take you to another point that came out of the UK, because I think it's somewhat related here, sir, to the point of foreign governments and the interventions that take place. And this is the news from the United Kingdom, where the government is planning to ban foreign countries from owning newspapers in the country. What is your take on that? I don't know if you've heard of that news. There's a Middle Eastern company in Abu Dhabi that wants to buy the Telegraph newspaper in the UK. So that's the one I'm referring to, sir. What's your take on that?
Are you challenging my knowledge of development in international relations?
Not at all. You're way ahead of me all the time.
Well, read behind the lines. Why is it that it is, if you like, it is an Islamic country that wants to buy a newspaper, the Telegraph in England, that all of a sudden then became an issue? Before now, it was never an issue if it was a Christian country that wanted to buy the newspaper. Gradually, You know, I think that the world, maybe it's just not Nigeria that is being divided. Maybe it is the world that is being divided along cultural, along religious, whatever, you know, divisions. Because really what Britain is telling us is that they are not going to allow an Islamic country to own a newspaper, a major newspaper in Britain. But it is all right for, look for how long this gentleman who is now in Australia, I can't remember his name now. He owned, you know, News of the World. He owned, he created so much havoc, even in the United States. Nobody, they didn't kick up a fuss at that time. To me, I'm not saying that a country should not look after its security interests. But the way you define that security interest must ensure that you don't bring in religious and cultural, you know, divisions that now allow you to divide your country. It shouldn't happen. We should go beyond that. We should have grown beyond that. Because in a way, we could see what happened during the Second World War. Was it not the Nazi creation of this division around which they then built what will you call it? They then built also all kinds of they then built all kinds of sorry, I can't think of the word, but to solve the consequences. The consequences were, you know, all these things that they built, in which they were then, you know, killing people and frying people. That's usually that's usually where it all ends. Even in the United States, they put the Japanese in concentration camps. No, I thought Britain had gone beyond that.
Yes. Let me take you to Poland, because I saw something that I thought it caught my attention. And this is the fact that the new government that came in Poland has decided to recall all ambassadors from all countries except the United States, and chose to recall all those ambassadors. One is, have you seen such a mass recall before in the past? And what exactly are they trying to achieve by recalling as many ambassadors as they have chosen to do now?
I think if we follow the progression of political developments in Poland, you will know that the election that was then held actually almost led to a massive change of values. Recall that even the European Union had problems with the previous regime, which it criticizes with, with devaluing the values of the EU and almost becoming the government itself, almost becoming a fascist government. They attacked the not the soldiers. They attacked the judiciary, put in there the judiciary that embraced their own values. They have problems with the church. So I'm not surprised that they then filled the
Let me take you to the US.
Yeah, no. They filled the diplomatic corps with people who embrace their own values. So now that you have a new regime through free and fair elections who have now embraced European values, I'm not surprised that they will seek to purge not only the diplomatic service, but even the civil service and the judiciary, and bring in people who will believe in freedom of expression, values that the European Union itself found acceptable. Yes, definitely you are right that it's very unusual, but it happens. It's just that it is seldom announced. For example, in the United States, if Trump becomes the next president, there will be a massive change of the American diplomatic corps. But it's just that it's not going to be announced. It will be done gradually. But within a year or so, whether you are a career officer or a political officer, Trump will change you. He did it the last time that he was there. But it's just that, as I said, it is not announced as a massive volcano, but it is done.
I can see a comment here from Ambassador Igali. He said our situation is not really better. In recent years, we habitually recall all our ambassadors after a head of state comes in, and we leave our missions without substantive chiefs of missions for long months. Not good at all.
I agree. I embrace that comment. I'm not saying that you shouldn't change ambassadors, but when you are going to change ambassadors, be ready for the replacement. And if the replacements are available, either you make all of if you don't have your own political appointees, then fill it with career ambassadors. The career ambassadors are there. They are qualified. They've been there for years. So you use them to fill it. It's not a good syndrome at all to leave your embassies bereft of ambassadors.
Let me take you to one point regarding Russia and the US. So we know that right from the beginning of the war with Ukraine, there had been fear around the use of nuclear weapons. But of recent, the rhetoric coming out of Russia suggests, hey, we've got this thing. We're being pushed to the wall. We might use this if we have to, if it depends on the survival of the Russian state, that they may have to use their weapons. One thing that a lot of people have questioned, sir, is the response of the rest of the world, particularly the United States, to that particular comment that Vladimir Putin has actually put out on numerous occasions. Is the West taking that threat seriously? And what should we do if indeed it's starting to get to that point where it's the only option that's now on the table?
Well, before I answer that question, because of the gap that we had in our, listen, let me use this opportunity to do two things. One, to pay enormous tribute to those who defied Putin, to turn up at the burial or funeral of Navalny, and who are still turning up. I mean, even today, if you see the mountain of flowers that are still on his grave, then you will know that there are brave men in this world, unlike some countries where all you need to do is to say boo and people will scatter. I think I want to use this opportunity to pay tribute to, because in a way, they're saying to Navalny, you didn't die in vain. You are not a fool that you came back to the Soviet Union. I mean, to Russia. You knew you were going to be killed, and you were killed. We will not forget. I give them credit for what they have done. So, to your question about whether we should take Putin seriously or not, you've asked this question several times. And the answer is really that I don't know. I really don't know. Before the Second World War, there was this debate going on around the world. Should we take Hitler seriously or not? Or is he just bluffing? There were those who held that he was bluffing. He wouldn't dare. And there were those who said maybe he would dare. But my own position is whether we think Putin is bluffing or not, be prepared. It's been said that the only way to prevent a war is to be prepared for the war. It's not the only one with nuclear weapons. Now, I don't want people to say Prof has gone mad. He wants the whole world to fall on all our heads. No. I'm basing my believe on that even though Putin may be close to madness, he will not be mad enough to destroy Russia in the process of destroying the entire world. That is the basis of my analysis. I think he thinks he could frighten the leaders of the Western world and get away with whatever his plan may be. This is my belief, but I am not sure because Hitler was mad enough to start the Second World War. And look at how many millions that and we were lucky when we was lucky nuclear weapons and not Hitler or the Japanese. I think we were just lucky. We didn't push our luck that far. I really suspect that Hitler was mad enough to have used nuclear weapons, especially since if he was the first one to develop it. But now that Putin knows that NATO has nuclear weapons, he also has nuclear weapons, I doubt. But thank God I'm not one of those who has to take the decision whether to press the button or not.
Now, one question I want to ask is, and I don't know if we have any military people on the call today, but is this point that we talk a lot about nuclear weapons, but we don't hear much about what deterrence that governments have in the event that a nuclear weapon is launched. For example, when you talk about the bits of the rockets that go from Gaza into Israel, we talk about Iron Dome and how Iron Dome has helped to stop those things. When we talk about nuclear bombs, I don't think I've had anybody say, oh, we have something that can help us to neutralize that bomb in the air before it gets to where it's going. Do you know of any such thing, sir?
Well, if we have distinguished military officers on our platform, I will yield the floor to them to give an answer. But as a scholar, we had that doctrine of what was called MAD, mutual assurance destruction. Where is Akin Akinyemi now? We had that as a doctrine when I was a student. That was what stopped anybody using nuclear weapons. We were all going to destroy each other. And that was sufficient for anybody to do that. You made reference to Israel. I don't know what exactly that weapon is, but I have heard and it's been told that Israel has something that allows them to activate what is called Samson syndrome. Samson syndrome. And that the Samson syndrome is if Israel is going to be destroyed, they will press that button and that will destroy the entire world. I don't know. So, as I said, I yield the floor to any of our compatriots who are military chaps who know of the doctrine that can counteract nuclear weapons or the use of nuclear weapons.
I can see a comment here from Suli Abu. Mutual assured destruction.
Yeah.
Yes, and I can also see someone here, Adeumi. I don't know if this is Professor Adeumi, but please go ahead, unmute yourself and speak, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Prof, for your program and for giving me this opportunity to say this. Actually, there exists what they call ABM, that's anti-ballistic missiles. They were designed basically to knock or to destroy mid-flight nuclear weapons fired from any country. In fact, there's a treaty between there used to be a treaty between the Americans and Russia on the creation of this ABM. They call it anti-ballistic missile treaty or something. But there's always a restriction. You know, that thing is based on like you've said now, the theory of mutual assured destruction. That is one, or what we call second strike capability. But there's a first option too. They call it NUT, N-U-T, Nuclear Utilization Treaty. That is, we can also call that first strike capability. In the event that I believe as a state that I can take out all the nuclear weapon of the other states, I'll refer or I'll retort to that nuclear utilization theory. That is what we call first strike. That is, I'll destroy all the weapon, for example, in the state of Russia. So Russia will not actually be able to attack me. If I feel that would not work, then we'll switch to the second one, which is what we call mutual assured destruction, or which is what Mr. Akin has actually referred to as deterrence. The fear of retaliation, that if you attack me with nuclear weapon, then I'll be able to attack you with my own nuclear weapon. So that fear will stop the two states from actually destroying themselves or destroying the world. Then we now have peace. But the actual weapon that they've actually...
Hello, sir. I think we lost you. Oh, we lost him there. Any other person who wants to make a comment? Please unmute yourself if there's anyone who wants to comment on that point. Okay. I don't see any hand at the moment. So I'm going to ask you one last question and then we'll wrap it up for tonight. In previous episodes, you had talked about potentially the Pope getting involved and in the war in between Russia and Ukraine. And yes, he got involved, but he seems to have gotten himself into some sort of pickle in the sense that he referred to Ukraine potentially raising a white flag. What do you say to that, sir? And after which I can see Professor Akintenwa's hand is raised. We'll take Professor Akintenwa. But you first, sir.
I hesitate. I hesitate to make comments on the Holy Father's comments, whether on Ukraine or even on theological issues. The Holy Father, maybe the Holy Father should borrow at least from his predecessor and retire into a monastery because it looks like controversy is being raised about some of his comments. Don't let me say anything more than that.
Okay, sir. Professor Akintenwa.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. I quite agree with the submission of Professor Falode, but I think the problem is more complex than the issue of interballistic missiles, be they intercontinental or otherwise. The issue is the mere fact that we have all these anti-ballistic missiles. To what extent are they 100%, capable of preventing, if, for instance, Russia decides to launch hundreds of nuclear weapons? What if the anti-ballistic missiles fail? Second point, we easily forget the fact that the United States used atomic bombs which had never been used before that time. Americans had not tested the weapons even. But because the Japanese provoked the United States, when the United States had not even contemplated entering into World War II, the anger, because the Japanese pushed the Americans to the wall, they now decided to embark on the worst, scenario by attacking on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, August 6, August 9. I am saying that if Putin is pushed to the wall, to expect that he will not attack, I think is at best debatable. We can continue to argue. The arguments given by Professor Akinyemi, they are tenable, they are quite reasonable, very intelligible, they are there. But he had also given the solution that, look, you want peace, you anticipate it, prepare. So we need to prepare for a situation whereby Putin will decide one day, as a madman, as a good man, prepare for the worst scenarios. But what is it that we are going to do? In which way is Nigeria far away from the theater of war will be concerned? I think this is what we should be looking at, because the way things are going on, Russia is also facing the problem of a paucity of weapon funding like Ukraine. It cannot just continue like that. But if the worst scenario comes, why should, for instance, Russia not be expected to attack? Didn't the Americans tell the whole world that any country in the world that acts contrarily to the United States foreign policy interests will be sanctioned? What prompted that? Because the United States never expected African countries to abstain from voting the resolution that sought to condemn Russian invasion of Ukraine. So in this case, in our strategic calculations, there's nothing impossible. Respectfully, please.
Thank you very much for that, sir. And just as we close this evening, I want to also remind everybody, as Ambassador Igali, I think, rightly put in the chat, on behalf of Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, to again announce the Academy of International Affairs, which he founded as a high-level private think tank, will be formally inaugurated on Monday, the 25th of March, at the Rotunda Hall of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Tafawa Balewa House, Abuja. It's going to be at 10 a.m. All are cordially invited to attend the event if you are based around Abuja. And let me know if you would like to attend so we can put appropriate, just bear with me. I will put an email in the chat right now, just so you have a way of contacting. And that is info@aia-ng.com. Okay, info@aia-ng.com. If you like to attend that event in Abuja on the 25th, please let me know, and I will pass that information across. But just before we close, there's a tiny clip just to give you an idea of the academy. If you bear with me 1 second, I should be able to get that out to you. It's going to be a very good event for those who might be in the Abuja area. But let me play this so you hear a little bit more about the academy. Bear with me. I hope you can hear that.
Yeah.
It looks like the audio might not be coming out very well. Either way, we'll share this. It will be on the website of the academy, and we'll make sure that you get that there. Someone has said any virtual attendance. Yes, I believe preparations are being made for that. And again, if you want that, just send your email to that email address, and I will share that information when we get there. Looking at the dates, I believe that we still have one more Thursday before the event itself. So by next week, we'll make more information available to everyone. Thank you very much, Professor Akinyemi. Sorry for the hassles with connectivity this evening. And on that note, we will end the broadcast. Professor Akinyemi, I don't know if that's your hand raised from before, or if you want to make another
No,
comment.
it was before.
Before. All right, sir. Thank you very much, everyone, and thank you for bearing with us at the start of the broadcast. Good night. See you next week.